Go, wait. There we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and welcome to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 cancer patient with prostate, bone, and lung cancer, and I'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy New Year, and I hope everybody had the greatest holiday season that they've ever had. And I'm so excited, and I hope you are too, about 2022. And so I'd like to welcome you to Be Your Own Hero, and please subscribe, like, and make a comment in the comment section of the video. And I've got a very, very special guest who I'll introduce in a little bit. But first, I'd like to share what I usually do about my health journey. I had a consultation with my oncologist a few days ago, and it was really good. My prostate is in really good shape. My lungs are in good shape. And the great thing is the metastases in my bones have finally stopped. And so I was really excited about that. And she thought, man, I'm doing a great job. But I didn't tell her that it was other things that was the reason for that. And hopefully, everybody had a great New Year's. My New Year's, I happened to be at the market, and I was loading groceries in my trunk, and some lady was in a rush with her SUV and hit me while I was standing there loading my groceries in my trunk. So that was the way I started off my New Year, but it was okay. And she was very apologetic, and I said, that's okay. It's a brand new year, and it's not a good way to start, but let's make the rest of it really great. So she was with that. And it was also on January 1st, it was my 28th year anniversary, wedding anniversary with my wife, Beth. So it was a very special occasion. So at this time, let's get to what we came here for. And I met this gentleman, his name is Rob Statham, on the LinkedIn live stream called Different Perspectives in Cancer by Kara Oker and Tim Sohn. And at this time, I'd like to introduce everyone to Rob Statham, who's got a totally different perspective than what I usually talk about. I usually talk about from the patient's standpoint, but Rob I'd like him to introduce himself and share about his perspectives from being the caretaker and the caregiver in the opposite end. So Rob, thank you very much for joining me, and please introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks, Mark. It's great to be here. And my journey with cancer obviously wasn't with me personally. My journey came really, my late father passed from leukemia that went from, I believe, AML to CML. So it became chronic or acute. I can't remember if it was CML to AML, but it became deadly, and that took him. And my twin sister, that was probably the most painful loss I've had in my life. And she died of breast cancer that turned into stage 4 and metastasized in her liver, and it just destroyed her liver. But she had beaten it initially and was technically clean of cancer for about 18 months. And my journey is really about those that lost very key people because of cancer and were around it. Was I her caretaker? No, that would be my sister Maria, who just retired as a nurse and spent 6 weeks of my sister's final 6 weeks of her life looking after her. But we were around and we were close. And obviously my twin, that's the closest human I'll ever have on earth. And there's a lot of things I learned from it. I mean, it was a very painful experience. I wasn't myself for a good year and a bit. It was only a few months ago that all of a sudden I had that aha moment and came back to mostly myself. But, it's more like a new self, because you never really get over grief. Grief's one of those things that takes time to heal from. But it's It's how you embrace grief. And I think one of the best ways to do it is to seize the moment and to really appreciate the now and to really take a positive perspective on it. I mean, you realize the mortality of life, and then you realize as well, all our time is borrowed here. I mean, to give you another perspective, I mean, there's a friend, a guy I knew, is an acquaintance, but I went and dealt with a really good friend last night. I was up pretty late with him. He had lost one of his friends who, you know, he didn't make the right choices in life, but nevertheless, he died from something else. But, you know, he was 43 years old. And it makes you realize time doesn't wait for anybody. So the best way to do it is to really enjoy this pleasant grind called life while we're here and to make the most of every day. You know, even just enjoy the moment.
I absolutely. In fact, I always end my videos by saying, you know, appreciate every single day, every single second. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot waste time because it's not ours to waste. And so I am so busy, me personally, so busy, you know, working with people and connecting with people and, you know, such as yourself. And that's the beauty of life is, you know, the people that you meet and the people that you touch and the people that touch you and what you can gather from other people's journeys, because everybody has a different journey.
They
And
do.
and that's the exciting part of it, because, you know, we were talking before the video started, Rob, you know, we can't take stuff with us, you
No,
know.
no, you
All
can't pack a suitcase with you on the way out. The pharaohs tried, you know, they ornated these big tombs with gold and everything else. And well, guess what? Some European conquerors and you know, Napoleon and the British and whoever else came through, especially into the Nile Delta, you know, into Egypt. They looted all these pyramids. They looted everything. So
right.
much for taking that to the afterlife with you, you know, and it's true. I think, you know, watching people fade into their last moments, and I have experience with that. I saw sort of a peaceful glow in the end of my dad and my sister, and I think they had lived good lives. You know, my father was kind of a self-defeating man in some ways. He was hard on himself. He was a very good man, but he I think in the end he realized he was grateful for quite a bit. And my sister was always pretty positive. She always looked at the silver lining and things. And they realized, you know, I remember I was there the day my sister was told she had like 6 to 12 weeks to live. It was it. I was on ground zero. So was my other sister, Maria. We drove her to the oncologist. And she never complained. And, you know, in the end, she just made the most of it. And the lesson learned for those of us that are healthy or those that are you just still fighting the good fight like yourself, you know, and I'm glad to hear that things are going pretty well for you, especially where you're at with stage 4 cancer. This could be a harrowing experience. But, you know, you've revved it up in the opposite direction and just said, hey, I'm not going to wallow in misery. I'm going to spread joy and happiness and really try to bring awareness into a lot of good things about living. And I think that's critical. You know, it's like, it's partly why I'm in the wine and beer business, because somebody asks me, well, what made you become a sommelier and a beer sommelier? And I look at them and I said, well, you know, that's pretty easy. It's one word, joy. I bring joy. And it really hit me hard as to how important that is when I came out of what felt like PTSD and massive depression with the loss of my twin, especially. My father, there was time, you know, he was told he'd have 2.5, 3 years and he lived it out. And, you know, I spent time with him. I went to see hockey games with him. I did stuff with him. And it was great. I'd go up to his trailer site with him in the summer, visit him, hang out with him, come over for dinner often. I was there quite regularly. But you could plan for that. And he was, you know, he was 74. It's not old, but he had the entrance into old life. But it's a lot more shocking when you lose somebody that's 47. You know, that's much more of a shock. And it makes you realize, like, if you look back in your life and you think, what was I thinking in my 20s and 30s? It's frankly, we worried about bullshit. We worried about that. How do I pick up that hot girl? How do I get that big paying job? Why don't I have a car, a new car in the driveway? And why don't I not own a house yet? All this other stuff. In the end, it's material. Do you think you're going to care about that when you're minutes away from checking out and you're surrounded by loved ones? Probably not. But what you will take with you is the fondness of what you did, the good memories, the positivity. And, we all make mistakes and everybody's done bad things through life, but it's to outweigh it with the good and just to get wiser with judgment. And I think getting wiser in judgment, like we were talking in the green room, is to just seize the day, seize the moment, and be passionate about seizing it.
You and I have similar experiences losing a sister. I lost my sister a little over 3 years ago. And thankfully, she gave me the blueprint for me for my cancer journey, because she had cancer really, really bad. And she kind of like balled up and didn't want to talk to people and didn't want to, in fact, didn't want to talk to us. In fact, we had to beg my mom just to see her before she passed, which fortunately, her name was Diane, and I'm thankful for the experience to having seen her a week before she passed, and it was just gut wrenching. It was gruesome. I mean, she had become basically just bones with some skin on it, and was just really weak and was under hospice care. And it was at that time right there that I told myself, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do the total opposite. I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to, contact other patients and other survivors and do it that way. And that's what I've done. And to hear your perspective, with your sister, which I'd like to talk more about, that is, how you were feeling at that time, and would you do anything different, looking back?
Well, I don't know. I think we always would do something different looking back. And then we learn from mistakes. Everything's hindsight in 2020. I definitely, you definitely do things that are out of character when you're grieving and in a PTSD state. You're not yourself. You look back, you go, wow, what was I thinking? What did I do that for? But the whole point of it is not to beat yourself up on it either. Just if you come out shining on the other side, then you're like, you know what? I'm fortunate. I'm lucky, because a lot of people will lose their wits. There's a lot of people end up homeless over losing loved ones. They have everything. They sink in a big depression and they never get out of it. And fortunately for me, I come from a good family. And I think that makes a much easier bridge when you come from a good home. And I have a lot of good friends around me, and just that all helps swing you up to uplift you. But it's amazing that a lot of people don't have that around them. And it's sad. It's because it makes a big difference.
Yes.
And I just can't even begin to describe how big of a blessing that was. And you're right. I mean, my sister sort of laid out for me the blueprint to live the rest of my life. And I remember she looked at me and she said, you're going to be here a long, long time. I can feel that. And I just know. It's weird. Sometimes maybe they have insight into it. And I was always the healthy twin. My sister couldn't lift her arms over her head after the age of 13. We thought it was a form of muscular dystrophy, but it wasn't. She was the athletic one before that. I was not. When she got weak, I got a lot stronger. Physically, I ballooned up and went wide and tall into an athlete. Like it just, and I, she even said, I was always grateful that we were male and female twins, because you collaborated. And honestly, it was probably one of the best experience of 47 years of my life having her around. And the positive of it is, I think about her every day, but the positive of it is, as you said, it's like what your sister did for you too. It's the blueprint. It's to wake up and realize, if you're on the right side of it, why are we worrying about nonsense? People worry about the bills due next week. Well, even if you have the money to pay them, bills don't go away. You know, it's taxes don't go away, expenses don't go away. So don't worry about it. Start living the life you really want to live and just drive forward to do it. And listen, we have our days that are up and down. We're human. I mean, so I'm coming into a funk because, you know, in Ontario here, our premier thinks it's wise to do a semi-lockdown again with the Omicron variant. We won't get into that, but it's ridiculous. And it's really shocked a lot of businesses, and it's a bad move, but you can sit there wallowing on it. And all I'm doing is thinking, okay, let's just zen out and enjoy the day. Take it one moment at a time instead. So gyms get shut down tomorrow. So I went today, you know, or you can only do takeout in coffee shops and restaurants. I gotta go sit in a coffee shop later and read on a second course, a course I'm doing in wine right now, the second part of an Italian wine scholar course. You know, you can do things just to make it better for you. And I really learned that through her. I mean, the old Rob would have probably said, fuck, this sucks, you know, and I would have been pissed off for the afternoon. And I'm not that guy anymore. You know, I've changed.
That's great. And I totally resonate with that. And you brought up a great point. You know, there's so much going on in the world that we can't control, but there's certain things that we can control. And so we need to do that as people, as human beings, to make the best life that we could possibly make for ourselves, because, you know, realizing that there's certain things that are going to happen, and they're going to happen regardless of how we feel about it or not. So, you know, we could set that aside and keep, I always talk about, you know, injecting the positive and keep, you know, we're the computer programmers of our own person. We have that responsibility, and we have that ability to, you know, allow good things to come into our mind and good things to come into our life. And that's what, if that's what we're putting into our minds, then that's what we're going to get out, instead of all this nonsense and things that we can't control. So, I mean, life is just, I am so excited about 2022. I mean, last year was, you know, a great awakening for me. You know, I went through so many medical procedures, and I just took it one day at a time. And, you know, I intend to take one day at a time for the rest of my life, because, you know, that's just work. That's what works for me. And, you know, I completely resonate, but, you know, to have the loss of a twin, I can't even imagine that. You know, that's, you know, that's got to resonate with so many questions about, you know, mortality and why was it her and not me, and all these kind of questions.
Yeah. And, you know, that is true, because in my case, it could have been 50%. There was a 50% chance in going into life that would have been me checking out early. You know, I don't have a say in that. You know, you don't have a say in the sleeve, the skin, the body you have coming into this world. You have no say in any of that. And it's really by mathematical chance that I came out on the other side of the 50%, but that's a coin toss. And that's another thing I'm grateful for. And my sister's death, in a lot of ways, she gave me more life.
Wow. That's amazing. And the same in my case too. You know, what's the good in somebody passing away if we don't learn something valuable from their life? You know, really.
Yeah, you're right. You have an opportunity, right? Like, it's like anything. You have an opportunity to seize something. And, you know, if you don't seize it, it could be gone in an instant on you. When it comes to you, grab it right away. I've learned when you have an aha moment or something sparks, just go. Doesn't mean that you're going to fly with it either, but just grab it, because your chances of doing something great with it have just gone up exponentially.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I like how you break down things to the seconds, because, you know, people always complain about time going so fast. No, that's a human construct of making time go fast. It's because we're racing to the future, but we worry about our past. And that's what most people do. They fail to grasp the only thing you can absolutely control, which is now. You can control the moment of now. You have a say,
Absolutely.
you have complete dominion over the now.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things that pull people away from it. You know, we have a media that lies and tells half truths. We have horrible political leaders around the planet. I think that's an age-old problem. I don't think that's going to change after we're gone. That's just the way that cookie crumbles. You got to shove that shit aside and just say, this is all crap. It's all manipulation. But I can control me and I can control my moments now. And it's really important to just grab that. And as a business owner, it's helped me because if you slow it down into processes in seconds and minutes, like it can be overwhelming, going, oh my God, I got to do taxes, I got to do this, I have year end, I got to sell. But if you slow the processes down, like anything, it becomes really easy. It's like my old judo coach used to say to me, you know, I remember when I was like training hard and I'm like, you know, Pat, I want to get to the national team and all this other stuff. He said, well, there's only one way you're going to get there. It's like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? And I'm just looking at him. I go, what, you cook it? And he goes, no, you eat it one bite at a time. Right? One bite at a time.
You're crooked.
That's what I said to him. I was 21 years old. But, you know, it's just, but, you know, or 20, I was a kid. But that's the way you think. But he was right in what he was telling me, because he had the wisdom of somebody who was about 11 years older at the time. But he was absolutely right. And that resonates to this day. It's just like you eat it one bite at a time. Life is like that. If you look at life gets overwhelming for people because they allow it to get overwhelming. They don't slow down the process and just chomp what's in front of them.
Yeah, that
I know.
I love
but
that.
I never would have learned any of this had I not lost my sister. I'd still be the same guy driving through the future and worrying about the past. And you have to learn to let go of your past transgressions. They're done. They're history. Let that baggage get thrown in the garbage where it belongs.
Yeah, part of the things that I promote for the channel is to not sleepwalk through life.
Yes.
And appreciate your opportunities and appreciate your health. And, you know, because prior to cancer, I was sleepwalking through life. I'm 63 years old. And, you know, I was just taking one day at a time, waking up and doing the day and not realizing the significance and the importance of each and every day. Now, I wake up and I am so grateful and thankful for opening my eyes to every new day. And, you know, there was a time last year, I don't know, it was like around March or April, I don't remember exactly when, 6 weeks, I didn't leave my bedroom. I was so weak. And, you know, I weighed 123 pounds. I weigh 155 now.
Wow.
So
It's a huge difference.
I've been very blessed, you know, to get in touch with the right people. And that's what I like to share is, you know, it's all, a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is you know, how you want to approach life and how you want to embrace life. And, you know, my goal, number one goal when I got diagnosed was, number one, I'm gonna live. It wasn't, I hope I'm gonna live. It was, I am going to live, period. And that's been the goal, and that still is the goal. And hey, it's 2022 and I'm still here. So I'm excited, absolutely thrilled. So,
Yeah. And you know what? There's a huge year ahead. And we're in what? Day 4.
absolutely.
Day 4.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a great year. And it's, you know, regardless of what happens, you know, with the noise of you know, politics and the virus and all this other
The
stuff.
endless pandemic. Yes.
Yeah, and all this stuff that's nonsense. We just have to, put our blinders on and, let that stuff, it's going to happen regardless. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless, but we have lives to live. And what, a person does with that word live and how they intend to, move forward with their life. And people need to realize how important, every second is. I try not to waste any time. I do relax and I enjoy watching my sports and everything like that. But, I give it everything I have every day. And I'm so grateful to meet people such as you, with,
Thank you, Mark.
with the positive attitude and everything like that. And so what I'd like to do is, do you have any final thoughts before we I know we gotta
I would just say, yeah, I would just reiterate the fact that find what motivates you, find what really charges you, and seize the moment and drive towards that goal. And you got to seize the moment, but at the same time, construct a goal and keep hammering it until you get it. And every day make a step towards that goal. Whatever that goal could be, health, it could be relationships, it could be finance, it could be a combination of things, but just break it down. And I think the only way you're ever going to do that and be successful at it is to slow things down and break it down at the moment. Because if you don't break it down at the moment, time controls you, people control you, society controls you, the media controls you. If it's one thing I've always said, if the devil does exist, he is there to steal and squeeze your time until you're dust. Don't let that happen. Seize it now and just move forward. I know it took you some tragedy in your own personal, your own fight against adversity, Mark. For me, it took a substantial loss. It took a loss that I didn't see coming. I didn't expect that. And it did. The gift of it is it gave me a boost in life, a second real life, to see things in much clearer perspective. And I can tell you, it's a very powerful and empowering thing.
That is so beautiful. If we all took what you just said and lived our lives in that manner, we would all get so much more out of life. And life has so much to offer if we're willing to accept it, and if we're willing to live life and embrace it and enjoy it and realize that, hey, life is so precious that, who knows? We could all drop dead tomorrow. So yeah. Let's make the most.
Yeah, literally. A meteor I'm sure the dinosaurs are thinking of tomorrow until that giant meteor flew out of the sky. And that could happen to us. It's just, you're right. Just seize the now. Enjoy Absolutely. It. If there's somebody you want to tell that you love them, do it now. If you get that inkling to correct a wrong that you did or somebody did to you years ago, pick up that phone. On a parting note, there's one guy that, I didn't see eye to eye with in grade school and into high school. And he tried to bully me to a certain point. Then, I got bigger, stronger, athletic, picked up judo, threw him around on a football field one day because he tried to attack me and made that mistake. And that ended it. So I didn't like this guy for years. Couldn't stand him, in fact. And one day, honestly, about 2.5 years ago, he reached out on Facebook. Hey, Rob, how you doing? And there were moments I got along with him. And I said, hey, how you doing, Fraser? And, we connected. And he is actually a really good adult. We kind of became friends from a distance. He was in Minneapolis. And sadly, on November 7th, he died from cancer. What happened was there was a spot on his skin removed. They didn't get it all. And this is sort of what happened with my sister. They missed probably something in her lymphatic system when they dealt with her breast cancer the first time, because it was also in her lymph nodes. Well, it spread to his lungs and liver, stage 4, dead, 50. And this guy was a fit, good looking, super smart guy, had a wife, had a lot to live for. And again, that just reiterates, seize the moment now. And if you have any past transgressions, you get the opportunity to fix them. One thing, I was extremely grateful that I got to fix that with him. I was given that opportunity. Remember, the opportunity comes. I could have brushed him off. How would I feel 2.5 years later if I said, fuck this guy, screw him, and he's dead? I'm very grateful. I took the high road and said, hey, how you doing? And embraced him as a different man, as in a man, not a kid anymore. And what made me think about it was, wow, we're not kids anymore. I'm sure he's changed. I've changed a lot. He's probably changed quite a bit too. And that's exactly the case of things. And it was that opportunity to build that bridge instead of keeping it burnt down and destroyed, that it helped me a lot too, because it heals you. And those are the moments you seize, like capturing the moment. And that's so critical.
That is just beautiful. Thank you so much, Rob, for your time.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
And for your input. I am so excited for everybody to see this video, because it gives a totally different perspective than I've been sharing with for this past year. And it was just an honor to share time with you. And I look forward to, us doing other things in the future.
Yes. I'll have to have you on the virtual happy hour experience to talk about this as well. That's my podcast.
I would absolutely love that.
Awesome.
Anything that we could do to bring people together it is, and give back to this world. And that's what we're here for. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to close out this video and thank Rob. And, you could see, I want to give you one last second to give a pitch for your business. You want to give a quick pitch on that?
Well, it's a good time to book virtual events. I mean, that's really my focus, right? So I had to pivot in the pandemic at the start of it. And I've built a whole platform on virtual tasting parties, virtual wine and beer tasting parties. There's the virtual dinner party, where I bring in a team of chefs from a great company called Cheftorial that I also work with sometimes. And it really brings about an experience of engagement, because engagement is starving in this world. Engagement and happiness are probably at an all-time low. And I'm here to help fix that. And, the best businesses fix problems. And that's a major problem that needs addressing. It's a huge human resources problem. And it's not going to go away just by throwing money at people or trying to shuffle them into different positions. You actually have to engage them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rob. And at this time, I thank you so much. That was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I hope everybody has a fantastic, phenomenal 2022. It's a brand new year, people. Let's make it happen, and appreciate everything about your life. Appreciate every day, every hour, every minute, every second. And please subscribe to Be Your Own Hero. Make a comment. And once again, thank you for joining us. And yeah, I am so excited, and I hope you are too. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
There's Mark.